This conference will now be recorded.
Hi friends, good afternoon. In this Azure Databricks Master Program, this is our 20th session. In this session, we will see how to read and write Parquet files. Okay, how you can read Parquet files and create the data frame. And once you read this data frame, on the data frame, you will apply some kind of a transformation that result in data frame, how you can write it as a Parquet file. So this is what we are going to see as part of this session. In this session, we will learn what is Parquet file, what is meant by columnar storage, because Parquet file is a columnar storage. That's why we are going to understand what is meant by columnar storage and advantages of Apache Parquet file format. So what is the advantage if you use Apache Parquet file format? Then we will see the differences between the CSV and Parquet file. Then we are going to see how to read Parquet file into the data frame, write data frame as a Parquet file, how you can write this data frame as a Parquet file. So these are the things that we are going to focus today. So let's see what is Parquet file. So what is Apache Parquet? So Apache Parquet is a columnar file format that provides optimization to speed up queries and is a far more efficient file format than CSV or JSON. If you compare with the CSV and JSON, this Apache Parquet will give you better performance and it is very efficient when you are reading the files. Okay, why it is very efficient? Because this particular Parquet is a columnar file format. You see, it's a columnar file format. What is meant by columnar file format is your data will store in a disk in a column wise. It will store data in your disk. Okay, so I will show you with example so that you will have a more clarity. You will have a customer ID, customer name, and a customer location, something like that. So in disk, this Parquet data will store in a column wise data. It will store what exactly it means. So you will see in a next slide. Next, it's supported by many data processing systems. We have Spark and Hive. So all these processing systems will support this Parquet. And it is compatible with most of the data processing frameworks in the Hadoop ecosystem. So all these are available in a Hadoop ecosystem. So most of Hadoop ecosystem services will support this Parquet file format. Next, it provides efficient data compression techniques. So data compression techniques means whatever data you are storing in a Parquet file format, that data will be compressed and stored. It will not store like how you are saving or how you are storing your data as CSV, right? So CSV data, it will store as it is. There is no compression techniques. But Parquet has a different compression techniques. One of the default compression technique is snappy compression technique. Okay, so by using that, it reduces the data storage up to 75% on an average. So meaning, let's say you have 10 GB file in CSV. If you convert it into Parquet, it will be 2.5 GB or 2 GB. It's more than 75%. It will reduce in terms of data storage. Now let's imagine you have terabytes of data in terms of CSV or in a table. If you convert the data into Parquet and storage, so you can save a lot of cost because the data size is very less because it's compressed data. So as you are storing less data, you are going to pay less amount to the cloud providers. Okay, next. So Spark SQL provides support for both reading and writing Parquet files that automatically capture the schema of the original data. If you remember, whenever we read a CSV file, we used to specify the schema explicitly, or we used to say info schema equal to true. Okay, explicitly we used to tell all these things. But in Parquet, you no need to specify any of these options. Automatically it is going to capture the schema. It will identify the correct schema from your original data. And for reading Parquet and for writing Parquet, you no need to install any extra libraries. Automatically there is a support in Spark. So Spark supports your Spark has some libraries which supports your Parquet file formats. So you no need to do anything extra. So you can read and write this Parquet file formats in Spark. Okay. So any doubts in this? Any doubts in this particular slide? Senthil, Ram, Shushmita.
Okay, Malaya.
No, Malay.
Okay. So let me move on now. What is meant by columnar storage? So you see, let's say you have a course ID, course name, and course start date. So one Azure, this is 2021 Jan 1st, Databricks 2021 Jan 2nd, ADF Jan 3rd. So something like that. I have three courses. Now you see, if it is a row-oriented storage, data will store something like that. One Azure date, one Azure date, two Databricks, this one. So row, first row it will store, then next row it will store, then it will store next row. So this is a row oriented storage. Columnar storage means so something like this. So 1 to 3 it will store first column wise. Azure Databricks ADF, it's a column wise. Next start dates column wise. So something like that it will store in your disk. So now what happens if you store some data something like this is example, I want to read only course names. I want to read only course names. Then it is very easy for Spark to read course names because all these are next to next, right? So it will be quicker to read. But when it comes to the row-oriented storage, if you want to just to read the course names, it has to search for the course names, entire data. See, one course name is here, another course is here, another course is here. So all these course names are not adjacent, right? So, but here you see next to next, all these course names are next to next. So when you query it while you are reading the data, it will be much more faster. And so you don't need to read all the columns. Example, I want only course name and course start date. So it will be easy because course names are here, course start dates are here. So next to next, immediately it will read. So that's why Parquet file formats are best for reading your data. Okay. So most of the time you want to read the data, then you can go for your Parquet file formats. Okay, any doubts in this particular slide? Senthil, Ram, Sushmita, any
I'm
doubts in
okay,
this?
Malia. Thanks. Yeah.
See, advantages of Apache Parquet. So using Parquet file format, we have a following advantages. One of the advantages is reduced storage. It consumes less space. Why, friends? Can you tell me why it consumes less space? We discussed. Remember? Why less space? Because we have a compression techniques. So if you compress this data, 75% of the data will reduce. Like if we have 1 GB of data as a CSV, if you convert it into Parquet, it will be like 200 MB or 250 MB. Okay, so 75% of the reduction you can able to see. That's why Parquet will consume less space, and ultimately you can store it in a small data storage system, and you can pay less cost. Okay, and query performance. So as we discussed, it's a columnar storage, right? So columnar storage means all the columns will, like all the data will be there adjacent, right? So now when you query it, example, I want only course name, so then it will be quicker for accessing this data. That's why query performance will increase. Okay, it will reduce the IO performance, IO operations, meaning instead of searching entire thing, so it can search only the specific locations, and it will read all entire course names. So that's why it reduce IO operation and increase the query performance. And fetches specific columns that you need to access. Example, I want to access only course name and course start date. It will be easy for it for Spark to read it because it's a data is stored in a columnar format. Next, automatically capture the schema of original data. We are going to see. So as we discussed in CSV, we used to mention the schema explicitly, but here we don't need to mention schema. It will identify, it will info the schema automatically. Next, depending on your business use case, Apache Parquet is a good option if you have to provide partial search of feature. So example, in real time, what happens is from source, we used to get like some 250 columns, 200 columns, but we don't require all those columns for reporting purpose or further processing. So we are going to at least to remove 200 columns, and we will consider max to max less than 50 columns, not even 50 columns. So in this case, what you are doing is you are just identifying specific columns, and you want to read only specific columns. So if you want to read only specific columns, it will be much more faster in Parquet because all this data will store it in a column. So that's why it is saying, depending on your business use case, Apache Parquet is a good option if you have to provide a partial search feature. Example, I want to search I want to search for this particular column data, or I want to read only few columns which I need. Okay, in all these cases, it will increase the performance. Okay, not querying all the columns. So I'm not querying all the columns. I'm just specifying few columns. Okay, and you are not worried about file write time. So because if you look at the Parquet, Parquet will take more time for writing. In terms of writing, it is not a best choice. So for writing, CSV is the best choice. For reading, Parquet is the best choice. Okay. Any doubt in this particular slide?
Okay.
Okay, now is clear. Simple.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No questions. Let me move on. Now you see differences between CSV and Parquet. So first thing you need to understand, columnar. We just discussed CSV is not a columnar, it's a row-oriented storage. But Parquet is a columnar. Compressible. So as we discussed, it's a compressible. It will compress the data size up to 75% as an average. But there is no compression technique in CSV. Splittable. So what is splittable? Basically, remember we were discussing about cluster. Cluster is nothing but a group of servers. So if you have a multiple servers in backend, you need to assign multiple tasks. But you are saying you have a single file. So now what we need to do, we need to split the single file into multiple parts, and each part we need to give it to the one server in the cluster. So now CSV you can splittable. CSV is also splittable and run parallelly. And Parquet also you can split that single file into multiple partition file, and you can submit on your servers in the cluster. Okay, next CSV file is human readable. So we have seen CSV file, it's a human readable, but Parquet is not a human readable. But still I will show you how you can read this particular Parquet file. You can read these Parquet files by using the online editors. Okay, by using, there are some file viewers, online file viewers. By using those things we can able to see. Next thing, as I said, default schema, it's a manual. Here we have a manual, but it is a automatically you will get the schema. Next, let's consider data size in CSV. If it is a 10 GB, so in Parquet it will be 2 GB. So you have seen huge reduction in terms of data size, right? Next, so use case. So CSV is best for writing and Parquet is best for reading your data. Okay. Any questions here? So we discussed all these things. Any questions here? Simple, clear from Shushma?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. Fine, let me move on now. So because this is very important even interview point of view, because people will ask what is the difference between CSV and Parquet, or you are going for Parquet, you should able to tell all these points. Okay. Next, read Parquet file into a data frame. So we know there are two syntax. One is normal syntax. Second one is Databricks specific syntax. Okay. So you see by using these syntaxes, you can able to read the data okay, into a data frame. See spark.read Parquet, and I'm just giving the file location, but I'm not saying header equal to true, option info schema equal to true, all those things, because it's a default. By default, it's a it can read the headers, and it can able to identify the data types. Next, here also you see spark.read.format Parquet load. I'm just loading the file from this location. What kind of file it is? Parquet. Okay, fine. Sorry. Let me move on to the next slide. Here you see write data frame as a Parquet file. So I want to write this data frame data as a Parquet file. See, DF, it's nothing but a data frame I have. I want to write in a mode. Which mode you are trying to write? Append. Suppose whatever data you have in your location, in this output location, you want to write it as, you want to just add the new data to the existing data, then you have to use the append mode. If you want to remove the existing data, you want to keep only new data, then you have to use a mode is override, that we have discussed in our previous sessions. Next, so this is our second syntax. df.write.mode is override. See, here I am using override, and format is Parquet dot save. That dot save, where I am saving this data is in this location. I am saving this data, and in which format I am saving this data? Parquet. Okay, clear? So that's all the slides which I have. So let's go and create our Azure Databricks workspace. Okay, can you read append? I did not get you. What is it? Yes, you are adding the new data to the existing data in this location. To this output folder, you are writing some data. What is the data you are writing? Whatever data you have in this DF. This DF data will go and add to the existing data in your output folder. Okay, fine. Now let's go here, click on this. Um, let's go and see whether I have any resource groups or not. See, I don't have any resource group. So what I will do is I will just create the Azure Databricks workspace. Click on Azure Databricks. Click on create Azure Databricks service. So free trial and resource group I'm going to create here Databricks master. Okay. Click OK. And workspace name you can say Cloud Funday Azure Databricks workspace. And as you know, I want to launch my Databricks workspace in East-US, so I will search for East-US. So I'm going with the standard. Premium, if you go, you can able to control the access based on the rule based networking. I don't have my own virtual network. That's why I want to launch this particular workspace in a default virtual network. Leave it tax key and value pay. So if you'd like to give anything created by and a working team environment, some kind of a key value page you can give. Otherwise, just click review plus create. It is validating. Validation passed, you can create it. So meanwhile, I will show you the Parquet files which I have. Click on this, go to documents, source data. There is something folder called source data. Okay, just click on this. See, you have something with Parquet. So I have Parquet 1, Parquet 2, Parquet 3. So if you remember the differences between your Parquet and CSV, I have highlighted few things. Human readable. So CSV is yes, but Parquet is no. Let me prove that. So now you see, let me open this particular Parquet file, one Parquet file, right click, click edit with Notepad++. You see all this data is something like this. Okay, all this data is something like this. Are you able to read anything here? Are you able to read anything here? Cloud Pandit underscore Parquet 1 dot Parquet. So in which location this file is available? You see document source data Parquet folder. We have this Parquet 1 file. So I'm not able to read this particular file. But now I want to convert this Parquet file into CSV through the online. Okay, so that I can able to understand what is the data exactly. So for that you have to say Parquet online Parquet file reader, you can say. Okay, so you see Apache Parquet online file reader. Just click on that. So just to choose file. So in which location? We know in this location only documents, source data, Parquet folder. Here you have a Cloud Pandit underscore Parquet. Just click on that. So first you need to say I am not a robot. Then I want to download this data as a CSV with comma separated. See, CSV with comma or CSV with semicolon. So how you want to separate data that you can download. Just click submit. So it will download the file with comma separated. See, it's downloaded file with comma separated. Show in folder. I am just opening this folder. Edit with Notepad++. See, now you are able to see this data or not. Okay, so your first column is registration underscore DTTM. This is the ID column. This is first name. See, these data types are also available here itself. Okay, Parquet stored the data types here itself. Understood? Parquet stored the data types here itself, friends. Okay, now I will read my Parquet file. I won't read CSV. I will read Parquet file and I will check whether I am getting same data or not. Understood? What I'm going to do now? Understood, friends? So my Azure Databricks workspace is clear. Just click go to resource. Just click on launch workspace. Okay, so what we need to do here, we need to create a cluster. Just click on clusters, create cluster. Okay, name of the cluster is this, and the mode high concurrency for parallel execution, standard for serial. Single node I want for my practice. I'm not using pool. Databricks runtime, it's nothing but a core module, and I want to go with the latest one, 7.2, or you want to go with 7.4, whatever you can go, no issue. And I want to terminate my cluster. I don't want to run my servers unnecessarily when I'm not submitting any job on this cluster. So I will wait until 60 minutes. If I'm not receiving any job, okay, any task to execute within this 60 minutes, this cluster will be terminated. So this is my cluster configuration. Just click create. So 14 GB memory, 4 cores you're getting. Okay, cluster is creating. Now let's go to workspace, create a folder here. Okay, click on this folder, create this, create. So I'm going to say this as create notebook. I want to create a notebook. This is basically Parquet read and write. Okay, so in which language we are trying to write on Python, just click it. So I'm not attaching to the cluster. You can attach it later. So how you will attach, we know, right? Just click on this, select this. So now cluster is still creating. Let's wait some time so that your cluster will be up. But so meanwhile, what I wanted to do is I want to like check whether this folder is available or not. File store slash tables. Go in here, file store, tables. So this particular folder is already available, but you don't have any subfolder. So under this file store slash tables base folder, I want to create my own folder. Like I want to create some subfolder. How you will verify? Like how you verify from here whether you have really subfolders or not? We verified from UI, but from the dbutils command also you can verify. fs.ls. Yes, very good. You just have to use this particular command to verify whether you have any subfolders under tables or not. So we already realized that we don't have any subfolders. If you want to create some new folders under tables, how will you create? Instead of ls, you need to say mkdirs. Here under tables, you have to say input. This is input. Okay, this is basically output. So I have a input folder and output folder. I'm going to create. How you are creating? mkdirs, make a directory. mkdirs means make a directory. So by using this syntaxes, here you can list down the content which you have under tables directory. Here you are just creating these two directories. One is input, second one is output. So now once I create, when I can able to create these folders, once my cluster is up. So till that time I am going to wait. But meanwhile, so why you are going to use this particular folder? Why you are going to use this particular folder? Remember, in input folder, I will upload my Parquet file. I will read the data from that input folder, and I will write the data into a output folder. I will read data from input folder and write data into a output folder. So today we are going to deal with a single file, but tomorrow we will deal with multiple files in a directory, how you can write data with partitions, how you can read a partition data, all those things we will see tomorrow. Okay, let's wait for some time. Any other questions, Senthil, Ram, Shushmita?
Fine, Malaya.
Okay. Thanks, Ram. So now you see your cluster is up. Let's try to say dbutils.fs.ls attaching to cluster. If it is creating problem again, we need to restart the cluster. Seems it is creating problem again. So we have faced these kind of issues, right? Last time what we have done is we have restarted the cluster, but if we restart cluster, it took again some time. These kind of issues. Let's execute it once again. Sometimes what you can do is you just detach to the cluster. This notebook you can detach to the cluster from cluster. Sometimes you no need to go for the restart every time. So you can just attach once again now. So I just detached and reattach. Now we'll see, fine, right? So you no need to go for the restart every time. So if something is not working, you can detach notebook and attach once again. It will work sometime. Okay. Now you see, I'm just created these two folders. Previously, I list down the content which I have under tables. See, it's an empty list, no content. Now I created two folders. Now I will check once again what is there under tables. You see input folder and output folder. Let's click on data. Add data. Select this folder. You see, I want to upload data into input folder. Just I am selecting input. Okay, I selected input. Just to click on browse now to upload the single Parquet file. This is the file I am uploading. So take this particular path. Okay, go here, and this is the like your input underscore path. So I will assign my date like input path here. Okay, so what is my output path where I want to write data? So let me define that output path also here only. So my output path is going to be something like this, output slash. Okay, clear, friend? So this is my input path, this is my output path. Okay, now I want to read my Parquet file by using our first syntax. What is our first syntax? Spark. So what is Spark? Spark is nothing but a Spark session. We know about this, right? Next, by using this Spark session, Spark dot read dot, it's a Parquet file. Just you have to say Parquet. Okay, so here you need to say input underscore path. This is what df feed like Parquet df. Parquet. Okay, so this is our Parquet df, and I want to show the data. So it's a little bit big data. So if you use a show, what happens? There is a problem with the show. What is the problem with the show is if you just ask this data frame data to show what it is. Oh, I need to execute these statements because I need to set these paths to the variable. I set the paths to the variable. Now you execute it. Now you see what happens is you will have more columns in Parquet. We have a lot of columns in your Parquet. Those column names will come to the next line. Those columns will come to the next line. See, title comment came to the next line. So this is not much readable. Instead of that, you can use something called display here. Use a display of this df data you want to display. So it will display the data. You don't worry, it is fetching result. With fetched result, you see registration, ID, all these columns you have. So more columns if you want, there is a bar here. You just like a drag right and left. Okay. So now we will compare this data and whatever data we read it and we converted into CSV, both are same or not. So you do that. You see, first go to registration underscore DTM. You see, registration underscore DTM is correct. Next, 2016 0203, correct. 2016 0203. ID is one. Amanda Jordan. You check one Amanda Jordan and A Jordan at the rate com.com. You see, it's she is like she, okay, female 1.9. So all these details are looks like correct. Now, same file, I want to read it in another syntax. What is that another syntax? You just bring the syntax, or you can just note down here, spark dot read dot format. Okay. I don't want to go to the another syntax. First, let's finish with the syntax, all the things that we need to understand. So here, see, I have not mentioned header equal to true. So headers, it said properly. Your first row is headers, it identified. So, and it set the headers properly. Second thing, you see, this is the data frame you take. You can say dot print schema. You can ask print schema. It will give you a schema. It will print and give it to you. Okay. You can see here it's timestamp. It's integer. Okay. String, and other things are string. You see here timestamp and it's an integer. Okay. You see here it's a datetime offset and it's a int. Okay, datetime offset means basically it's a timestamp only. Okay, Now you are able to see. Now you want to know then how many records we have. Park df dot count. Count will give you the number of records which you have in this particular Parquet file. There will be 1,000 records. Okay, you can see 1,000. You can check even here. There will be a total. See 1,000 not one, because you need to consider the header. So if you remove the header, you will have exactly 1,000 records in this file. Okay. So meaning here we are not using info schema equal to true or something. Automatically it is able to identify based on the data what type of data it is. Okay. Next. Okay, 1 second. Let's say print schema once again. Okay, so you see nullable equal to true. What is meant by nullable equal to true means, so if this column allows null or not. Nullable equal to true means this column will allow null values. Okay, that is the meaning. Okay, now we read this particular Parquet file by using first syntax. Let me go and use the second syntax. The second syntax is here. Spark df1 equal to spark dot read dot format. Which format I want to read? I want to read this data in another format, that is, let's say I want to overwrite always. Sorry, format is nothing but the file format you need to set. Set Parquet file. If Parquet file format, just Spark.read that format is Parquet, and I want to load data. So from which location you want to load? Input underscore path variable will give you actual path input path. Okay, this is Park df1. Okay, so same I will use display. Let's get it now. It will fetch, oh shit, what display or df1. I want to display data which I have on the Park df. It will fetch, don't worry. Now you see, you got the result. Okay, so again, take this particular data frame, and how you will check whether it's a really data frame or not, you know, right? Type. Just have to use the type. It's a data frame only. Next, Park df1 dot count. You check whether it is giving correct results or not. Yes, 1,000 records. Next, or df1 dot print schema. Print schema executed. Now you see timestamp, integer, remaining things are string. Okay, we know all this. Now I want to get only column names. How will you get column names? And we discuss in this of column. See columns, if you ask, it will give you columns. I want to know, along with columns, I want to know the data types of them. Data types of respective columns. df1 dot d types. You ask d types, data types. In this data from data, this column is this data type, this column is this data type. It will give you all these things. Okay. Now, are you comfortable for reading the Parquet file by using two syntaxes, friends? Senthil, Ram, Shushmita, can you confirm?
Yes, Malaya. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now we will see whether we have any content in our output folder or not. So how we will check the content which we have under a folder? dbls again. Here you need to say file store slash tables slash output. So in this output folder, whether you have any content or not, you check. Okay, there is no content. Next, output underscore path variable. What exactly it has? What this variable contains? I want to print the value which is assigned to this output path. So this is the same path which we are trying to read. So I want to write data into this particular path. How you will write? So we have a path df1. Okay, you can see here Park df1 is nothing but this one. So this data I want to write it. Okay, I want to write. Okay, so how you want to write? So you can directly say Park, or you can mention here mode. So mode is I want to use overwrite, and overwrite I want to write it as a Park. Okay, so in which location? Output underscore path. output underscore path means what? So this location file store tables output. Okay, let's try to execute it now. Okay, done. We are able to successfully right now. Let me list down the content which we have here. See now some success file and committed file, started file. It has created total 2 Parquet files. So how? I think it's created only one Parquet file. Sorry. So it's created only one Parquet file. Okay, you see this is the Parquet file. In this particular file, see why all these files. In this file, you will have a actual data. Okay. Next started is just for this particular transaction is successful or not. Okay, success also, if it is a success, it will give the success file, otherwise it will not generate the success file. Next committed file will have how many, so your actual data is splitted across how many files, what are those file names, all those file names information in this file it will have. Example, currently it has generated a one part file. Okay, this is a one part file it has generated. So this part file name will be there in this. Let's try to read this particular file. How to read this particular file? How to read this particular file? We already know db utils dot head. Okay, just have to put it here and read it. See now what this is. This particular file has added. This file is added. It is saying, okay. Have you removed any file? No. You just added a file called this file. Into this file we have your entire data. See what technique we are using for compression? Snappy technique. Okay, fine. So this is the one way of writing your data. So what is the second syntax for writing your data? So for writing my data into a by using second syntax, if I want to write a data, I will use another folder. I will create another folder. I will create quickly another folder db utils.ls. Let's first check what folders we have under file store slash tables slash executed. See, you have input and output. Now what I am trying to do is I am just creating mkdirs. I will create here something called output latest. Okay, this is the folder I want to create. So this folder I created. Now let's list down the content which we have on the tables again. Execute it. Now you see output latest file came. So into this file I want to write my Parquet df1 data, same data Parquet df1 data. I want to write it into this particular folder now by using another syntax. Before I write data into this folder, I need to check whether any content available in this. I will check whether you have any content in this. Again, same. You need to use, instead of mkdirs, you can say ls execute. So you see you don't have any data. So, but I want to write data into this folder now. So this is the data frame, has some data. That data I want to write what mode. So mode is like a overwrite mode. Okay, next mode is override. So here you need to say format, in which format you want to write. So Parquet, but if you want to write it as a CSV, it is possible. Okay, next here you need to say save. I want to save data into which path. So this, so my path I will give you. Okay, my path I will give you. This is my path.
Yeah, here what would be the file name when it is going to write? So what
See,
would be
file names you cannot control. That's what. So you, when you have a multiple, so it's big data, right? Your data has to split across multiple files. So you cannot say your data, my data should go into this particular folder. Okay. So that's why you cannot control the file names here while you are writing data. Clear?
So when we read, so do we have a file name? When we read, we need to give file name as well, isn't it? Yeah.
No, that is not a matter. So when you have multiple files, so we have read, we have discussed in CSV, you will have a multiple files in the directory, you can read it. In the same way, Parquet also, while you are reading, you can read a single file, you can read a multiple files which are in a directory.
Okay. Same concept.
Okay. So this is the data frame. I'm writing in a overwrite mode by using Parquet format and saving this data. So this is the another syntax. So first syntax is this for writing, second syntax is this for writing. Let's write this. Okay, we have written. Let's list down the content now, whether we are able to get something or not. You see, again, you see this part file came and committed file, started file, and success file. Okay, clear? So now what happens? Example, I will show you one more thing. If I write exactly once again, overwrite. Now you see the content here. You will have a two started files, two committed files, because your execution start at this time and this time. So when you write data again, maybe you have written in a overwrite or append mode, right? So in this case, what happens is maybe some of the files it might deleted, some of the part files it has added, so that information we will have here. Okay, so in latest file we will have the latest information. Clear?
Yes, Malaya. So it will be overwrite, mean it will overwrite, it will existing one, it will overwrite, yeah. Even if you don't doesn't have any file, still it will work, right? This overwrite.
Yes. So even if you have any data, you can overwrite. If you want append, you can append. These are the like metadata files. You don't worry about these things.
Okay.
Your actual data will be there in this file. Okay. So if you want to read this particular output folder now, you can read and get the data. Doesn't matter whether this metadata files it will ignore. Okay, it will focus on only this Parquet files. It will read Parquet files. Example, let me show you from this particular path. I'm trying to read the data, and we will see whether we are going to get a only 1,000 records or not. So display, I can say here display DF1 and execute. Okay, it is fetching. Okay, now I want to understand the number of records. So you should have exactly 1,000 records. We have because we have overwritten and we have written the data. Oh, sorry, I mean DF dot show inside. It should be DF1 dot count. See 1,000 records. Clear, Senthil? Ram, Shushmita, everybody's
Malaya,
clear.
yeah.
So tomorrow we will see how you can write this data as part and all these things. So how you can write data as a part, like a partition by how you can write data, everything we will discuss tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Thank
all
you,
for
Malaya.
today.